One often overlooked truth in Scripture is how ordinary, sometimes even pathetic, the first followers of Jesus really were. Because we know how their stories end, we tend to see the apostles and early saints only in their glory, brave, noble, and steadfast to the end. We remember that, aside from John, every one of the apostles was martyred for the faith. And even John was thrown into a vat of boiling oil and miraculously survived. We see their courage, their miracles, their sanctity, and we forget who they were before grace transformed them. But that's the key. God didn't choose them for their strength. He chose them in their weakness. If you look closely at the Gospels, the apostles are not impressive men. Peter, the rock on whom Christ built his church, denied Jesus 3 times out of fear. James and John argued about who would sit at his right and left hand in glory. Thomas refused to believe in the resurrection until he could touch the wounds. Even after witnessing countless miracles, they still doubted, misunderstood, and quarreled. And Paul, the great missionary saint, began as Saul, a persecutor of Christians, complicit in the murder of believers. From a human point of view, these were not the kind of people you'd pick to launch a world-changing mission. Yet that was precisely the point. God deliberately chose the weak, the broken, the impulsive, and the fearful so that his power could be made visible through them. As St. Paul later wrote, God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. 1 Corinthians 1:27. By transforming such flawed individuals into the pillars of the church, God left no doubt that it was his work, not theirs. Peter, who once cowered before a servant girl, would one day ask to be crucified upside down out of humility and love. Paul, once a violent persecutor, became the tireless missionary who carried the gospel across the known world. The same men who once argued over who was greatest became humble martyrs who laid down their lives for Christ. The message for us is profoundly encouraging. If God could take those men, fearful, stubborn, and imperfect, and make them saints, then there is no one beyond his reach. We can never say, I'm too broken, I've failed too much, or I'm not good enough. The very weakness we think disqualifies us is often the place where God's grace begins to work most powerfully. The story of the apostles isn't about human excellence, it's about divine mercy. Their transformation stands as proof that holiness is not something we achieve by effort, but something God accomplishes in us when we surrender to him. If the first 12 could be changed so completely, then so can we.